Hi there, my name's Abby Becks, and I'm a counselor with Corizon. I thought I'd share with you today the best check-in. This is a great strategy that I picked up while working in House of Friendship, a third day program, and I've carried with me in clinical practice and in my personal life for many years. It's a wonderful tool to help us to just pause and take stock of where we're at in a variety of areas of our life, and also helps us to identify where the self-care might need to be in that moment. So for a best check-in, we just want to pause at some point in our day or a variety of points in our day and just check in with myself. How am I doing in this moment? So we break that up into 4 areas. B is for body. This is the physical self, what we might tell a doctor. Here you would think about assigning a word to describe your energy levels, or if there's pain, if I'm hungry, if there's soreness or tension somewhere, if I'm feeling rested, or maybe a little lethargic. E is for emotion. This is kind of, if B is for the physical self, E is where we're kind of tuning into our heart self. What are 1 or 2 emotions that we can hold in this moment? And things like okay, good, fine, don't cut it here. We really want to get descriptive in what we might be feeling. Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling joyful? Am I feeling irritable? Am I content or angry? S is for the spiritual self. This, for the purpose of this check-in, is about a sense of connectedness to a higher power, the world at large, to nature, to others around us, even to ourselves or this moment right now, how I'm feeling grounded, perhaps. There's a saying, be where your feet are. And I think that really speaks to the spiritual part of this check-in. So what would be a word or 2 that I might assign to how I'm doing in my spiritual self? Am I grounded? Am I feeling present in this moment? Or maybe I'm lost or disconnected or searching or isolated. T is for thoughts. This is kind of the cognitive self. We can do 1 of 2 things here. If our thoughts are just running wild, I might just try and grab 1 thought, just to hold 1 thought at a time in this check-in. Alternatively, I might choose to describe it in a word or 2. Are my thoughts jumbled? Are they racing? Are my thoughts anxious? Are my thoughts calm and present and grounded in this moment? So when we do this check-in, we're assigning a word or 2 to BEST. If that feels hard right now, if that feels like a lot just to kind of think about, oh my gosh, I have to pick 4 different words here, that's great to just stop here and use the best check-in as a way to just broaden our emotional vocabulary and kind of understand a little bit more about how we're doing beyond good, fine, or okay. So if that feels like enough, great. This is a great practice to begin incorporating into your life. If, however, you're noticing that in 1 area or a couple areas, maybe the body or the emotions, need some tending and some self-care, the best check-in also does a great job of helping us to explore where we can incorporate some self-care. So perhaps in my best check-in, my body I was describing as fatigued and low energy and tense, right? By naming that, I'm cueing myself that, okay, I need to attend and put some self-care into the body. So for this slide, it goes through some ideas of what you might do if 1 of those areas is coming up as a space that you might need some self-care. So if it's the body, this is about getting back to basics. So sleep, prioritized. Everybody needs about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. There's negative impacts for both too little sleep and too much sleep on either end of that spectrum. So really aiming for that 8-ish hours. Nutritious food. When we're in times of stress or chaos, it can be tempting to up the caffeine or up the sugar intake. And now is really the time to get, back to 3 meals, 2 snacks, whatever it is in your life that helps you to feel energized and well. This is the time to really focus on that. And exercise. Exercise is probably one of the most valuable skills that we have at our disposal. It might be, a walk to boost our mood. It might be a good stretch after sitting all day at the office or in a chair. Just getting outside, moving our body, doing some exercise can have some fantastic benefits for mental health. If it's the E in the emotion that you were seeing might need some tending or some self-care, here's a great opportunity to practice this phrase, name it to tame it. Sometimes we think that by naming the hard thing, the hard emotion, the hard situation, by saying it out loud or writing it down, we actually give that hard thing power. And the research actually shows that by naming it, we actually give ourselves power to process through it. So just by doing the best check-in, we're able to name a feeling or feelings that we're struggling with right now. Perhaps there's a journal entry that can go with that. Perhaps there's just some gentleness that comes with naming that emotion. So both honoring the feeling without judgment or critique, but also in addition to that, looking for a space of gratitude and good things that are still happening. So a great practice is to jot down at the end of your day 3 to 5 good things that have happened that day. They don't have to be extraordinary things. It might be a sunny walk. It might be a nice treat. It might be something funny somebody said. But just orienting yourself to the positive at the end of the day and looking for those things throughout the day can help to just find that balance. It's not to invalidate a tough day or hard feelings that are happening. It's just being able to open your eyes up to both happening together. I had a really hard day and I had a great time outside with my family. If it's the spiritual self that's looking for some tending or self-care, a nice practice here is to just figure out a way to ground ourselves. So a quick grounding practice is to connect to our senses in this moment. Just by looking around you in the space that you're in, what are 5 things or so that you can see? What are 5 things or so that you can hear right now in this moment? What are things that you can touch? If, however, the situation around you is the thing causing stress, we would also do the similar exercise with a visualization. So imagining a place that has brought you peace and calm and contentedness, what would you see? What would you touch? What would you hear? This is a nice way to just orient yourself back to the space that we're in or back to that state of calm. Alternatively, with the spirit, if that disconnection, especially in our days right now, is coming up for you in that isolation, here's a great way to, tend to that connection piece by reaching out, where there's lots of creative ways that we're finding to connect with our loved ones and our support systems. And if we're seeing that our spiritual self is needing some care, that's a great opportunity to reach out. And finally, if it's the cognitive self, the thoughts that maybe need some self-care, oftentimes this would show up if I'm saying my thoughts are racing or jumbled or not focused. And we might need an activity to bring some clarity and focus to our thoughts. So mindfulness is a great opportunity here. Mindfulness is just paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. So a grounding activity like we just went through, or alternatively, box breathing. Box breathing is a fantastic skill to bring about that clarity. It came about from some research with firefighters who obviously are going into a very stressful situation of a burning building. And they were taught to do this box breathing to bring mental clarity and calm. So we can see that it might work for somebody like a firefighter. Perhaps it might work for us if our thoughts are racing or jumbled. And all box breathing is as you draw a box in your mind, you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds. I encourage you to make that your own. For me, I know I actually kind of like an inhale for 4, a hold for 3, and an exhale for 5 or 6, and then a hold for 3. The idea here is that we're slowing down, we're being intentional, we're giving the mind one neutral thing to focus on, just counting, right? And in doing that practice, the mind kind of resets and calms. So I encourage you to try out this best check-in. It's something that I do frequently throughout my day. If you're just starting, it's a great thing to kind of pair with an activity that you're already doing a few times, like a meal or going out for a walk or two in the day, and just pausing, taking a breath, going through the best check-in, and seeing if there's anywhere that you might need to tend to and bring in some self-care. So good luck with that, and I hope it's a helpful skill.